Hi, student. We are back. So, for our first section, we discussed very interesting examples of globalization. Now we come to another part. It's called localization. Localization means when the multinational company, when they come into local market, there are several things they have to do. For example, translation. You may see in Taiwan a lot of multinational company coming in and they have to translate their menu, for example. Take Starbucks, for example, they have translate all these different flavors, different type of coffee into Chinese, into the words people can understand. However, there are also something very interesting is when people translate those English into local language. Some of the local language will be used and be familiar with local people. And then it coming back to become part of English vocabulary. Jeannie, probably you have several examples can share with students.
So we just mentioned there's a process of translation, but there's also the process of integration. So as a part of the globalization, people from different places communicate with each other, and they will bring some words back to their original country or back to their original language. So like in English, now we use some words we probably know they are from Chinese or previous encounters with Chinese people. So in America, they also use the word feng shui regarding to feng shui, what we are talking about right nowadays all the time. And also with the encounters with people usually from the coastal cities, so and also big countries. So we get foods regarding to like Cantonese food.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the word like dim sum. Yeah, as well. Just like getting into English, and also we get foods names like sushi and matcha and mooc, right, from Japanese, and also from Chinese we get the word lychee. So nowadays the flavor of lychee in ice cream is really popular in the United States. And also from Taiwan, we get the idea of boba or bubble tea. So yeah, it's really popular among youngsters in Europe, in America as well. Of course, for those who are into Korean culture, the word kimchi is the word that Americans or Europeans will also use in English. So as these examples show, all these foreign languages or terms becomes part of English as well.
Yeah. So translation is one thing probably come to your mind first when you think about the process of localization. However, for those multinational company or multinational business, there are also other things they have to do in order to localize, in order to be localized and in order to merge into the local culture. For example, in the reading we mentioned, for example, adapting graphic. You probably have seen that. For example, there's a brand called Uniqlo. They have different graphic of their on their brand. One is written in Japanese and one is written in English. And also their second one is modifying their content or modifying their tasks. Probably Jeannie can give some example.
So like these transnational or multinational companies like Uniqlo, perhaps when they set up websites or shops in United States or in Europe, then they will use models right from America or from Europe. And I think the other brand, IKEA, does the same when they try to publish their catalog in certain countries. Like in China or in some Muslim countries, they need to adapt the content of the catalog. So that satisfies the customs of these particular countries or how people in these particular countries want to see themselves as. So that's one part of adapting the content. And also we know lots of these kind of changes apply to food. Yeah, that's another thing. So most Taiwanese and no opposite feeling towards eating raw fish or something like that. But when sushi was first introduced to Europeans or Americans, they were not used to having raw food.
fish.
Yeah. So actually, if you have ever been to the United States and particularly to California, there's another kind of sushi popular there. That's Californian roll. So they will use some cooked materials and like cook the fish and add some sauce on those rolls as well. So they will add mayonnaise or teriyaki sauce, something like that. And also they add avocado to these rolls. And I think the trend of avocado then get back to Japan.
And
So
become popular in Japan. So I know the example of California roll is quite interesting because in the beginning when Japanese see this kind of adaptation, they cannot accept that. But however, time goes by and they start to kind of accept this kind of different taste, although it's from different country.
And I think most of the students will be familiar with like fast food restaurants. They tend to adapt their menus in different countries. So if that country has dietary restrictions, people in that country don't eat beef or don't eat pork or don't eat chicken, that's all possible. But these companies that's for fast food restaurants will adapt their menus to suit the local flavor. So that's adapting.
So adapting graphic, adapting content, adapting taste is several things a multinational company can do except from translating or to be localized. So student, you can check the reading again because there are much more example aside from translating. You can check if you can find out example which fits this kind of localization process.
So, as usual, we have 2 questions on this section. So, my first question would be, what are the words that get translated into English or get brought into English, those foreign words?
Yeah, my second question is, we have mentioned aside from translation, there are several things or process a multinational company can do. Can you give us some of the example?
Okay, see you.